you smell what the Rock is cooking? In my head, they count to me, they understand, they talk to me. You got your rules and your religion, all designed to keep you safe. But when rules start getting broken, you start questioning your faith. I have a voice that is my savior, hates to love and loves to hate. I have a voice that has the knowledge and the power to your fate.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the WWE Wrestling Talk Show with Reese Rock Jones and
Sean. Matt.
Before we get underway with this show, we would like to pay our respects to the entire Flair family for living legend Ric Flair, who has been suffering with multiple conditions recently and has been hospitalized.
Hopefully, Nate, hope you'll pull through and get back to the living legend that you are.
He has undergone successful surgery, but however is still in a unstable condition. But now we move on to what this show is. This show is a 2-in-1 special to advertise what is going to be a grand total of between 6 and 7 hours worth of wrestling coming from the WWE this weekend. As for the third year in a row, they head to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York for NXT Takeover and Summerslam.
The biggest of the summer.
So let's take over with let's start with NXT Takeover episode 3.
NXT Takeover 3.
Well, NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3, we should say. The match card currently has 5 matches on it, which are: Bobby Roode will be looking for yet another glorious NXT Championship defense when he defends the championship on Saturday evening against Drew McIntyre, who returned to the WWE on NXT back in April.
So, are going to be Drew McIntyre to win?
Yes, you would think that with the number of times that Bobby Roode has had a glorious and a victorious title defense, that it is now time for him to lose the championship and head up to the main roster, because we are about the time of year after the big pay-per-views where call-ups tend to happen. Next we have the NXT Women's Championship being defended when Asuka, who has been champion for 500 plus days now, defends the championship against Ember Moon.
And I said Ember Moon win the championship.
Simply because of the amount of time that Asuka has been champion, and eventually someone's got to beat her. It should be now, and then she can come up to the main roster and be dominant there. Next we have the NXT Tag Team Championships on the line, as the Authors of Pain, or the Shield 2.0. And we'll get back to that in a while. Defend against Sanity members Alexander Wolf and Killer Jane, who we know as, and Sanity are anything but sane.
Yeah.
This one I could possibly see going either way. They're two tough hitting teams.
With the team out benefiting Takeover Brooklyn 3 with the NXT Tag Team Championships.
Next we have two singles matches, which are Alexander Black, who is undefeated in NXT, taking on Hideo Itami, whose NXT run has been full of injuries, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate because they're very talented.
And finally, former member of DIY, Johnny Gargano, will take on Andre Adams.
Say that.
Yeah, it's a tough one to say who's going to win this one. Some matches can go either way, and I think that one could possibly go either way, although I would say Johnny Gargano. So, that does it for NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. Join us in a little while, where we will come back to you as Raw and SmackDown present Summerslam.
So now, here's the summer.
Listen up, there's not a moment to spare. It's quite a drop from the top, so how you feeling down there? It's a cold, cruel, harsh reality. Caught, stuck here with your enemies. Who do you think you are? Tearing us all apart. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yeah, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the burden we bear. You love the hate that we share. You want more, but you get nothing from me. But enemies, enemies. You started something that you just couldn't stop. You turned the ones that you love into the angriest mob. And the one last wish is that you pay for it. And there's no way you're getting out of this. Who do you think you are? Tearing us all apart. Where did you think you could go? 'Cause everyone already knows it's 20 to 1. Yeah, so you better run. You got the world on its knees. You're taking all that you please. You want more, but you get nothing from me. You like the bird
And we are back with the biggest party of the summer, Summerslam, which, as stated before, comes at us for the third year in a row from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.
What is part in store for it? They asked.
Well, as a joint venture between Raw and SmackDown, we have a total of 12 matches on the card, 2 of which will take place on the kickoff show or the pre-show, and those are Akira Tozawa will take on Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, originally, this match was scheduled as Neville defending the championship against Akira Tozawa. However, this past Monday night on Raw, we had this match and Akira Tozawa won the Cruiserweight Championship. So now, Neville, having got his rematch clause, will challenge Akira Tozawa for the championship. Now, I hope to God that WWE does not do this unusual thing that they do sometimes about having someone win the championship only to lose it like a week later, less than a week later.
They did it with Zack Ryder. Let's just hope they don't do it with Akira Tozawa after all he's in first.
They kind of did it with AJ Styles as well over the United States Championship, but we will get into that later on. Also taking place on the pre-show is a SmackDown Tag Team Championship rematch. Following the New Day picking up the Tag Team Championships at Battleground, the Usos have invoked their rematch and will take on the New Day at SummerSlam. Competing in this match for the New Day, as confirmed by SmackDown General Manager Daniel Bryan, will be Big E and Xavier Woods, with Kofi Kingston on the outside.
Interesting. Prediction say we're gonna go for New Day to retain.
Yes, because it doesn't really make sense to give them the titles back and then take them off straight away, although you'll never know. So now we move on to the main card, which after the 2 pre-show matches has 10 matches on it, 5 for Raw and 5 for SmackDown.
Yes. Let's start off with...
Well, we'll start off with, on the 1-year anniversary to the crowning of the first Universal Champion, the Universal Championship will be defended in a fatal 4-way match.
The 4 competitors are...
The reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar, will defend against the attempted murderer, Roman Reigns.
Well, I know you did that. And the man he tried to kill,
and the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. Now, the reason that this match became a fatal 4-way, Brock Lesnar barely, and I do mean barely, escaped Samoa Joe with great balls of fire.
Oh God, here we go again.
Also at Great Balls of Fire,
Oh no.
we had Braun Strowman defeat Roman Reigns only to be attempted murdered
By Roman Reigns.
after having, what was it, an ambulance driven into him, or truck, and he walked away. So Kurt Angle scheduled a one-on-one match between Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe.
But then that was interrupted by Braun Strowman, who laid out both men.
So Kurt Angle decided to make a Fatal 4-Way match at SummerSlam. However, I think it's safe to say that Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar were not too happy about this, because they came out and said that if Lesnar loses the Universal Championship, then he and Paul Heyman will leave the WWE.
So pretty much for Lesnar, it's all or nothing.
Which makes for an interesting match and an interesting possibility. Does Lesnar retain, or does someone else win? That is a question. Next we have, well, let's just say, on the 20th anniversary of Bret Hitman Hart winning the WWE Championship from The Undertaker, Natalya has an opportunity to follow in her uncle's footsteps by becoming SmackDown Women's Champion.
And she takes on Naomi with a SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yes, but somehow I don't think that it is time to let go of feeling the glow.
But there's rumours going around that we may see a cash-in from Carmella if Natalya wins.
Yes, and that will be the only cash-in that could possibly happen, and we'll get into that a little while as well.
Anyway, what is our next match?
Going back to Raw, we have the Raw Women's Championship on the line as Alexa Bliss faces Sasha Banks. Now, this was originally supposed to be Alexa Bliss defending against Bayley. However, Bayley suffered an injury in a match against Nia Jax.
Yes.
We hope to see her back soon.
Yes, we do.
So Kurt Angle scheduled 2 triple threat matches, where the winners of those would face each other this past week on Raw, and then go on to face Alexa Bliss. The winners of the triple threat matches were Sasha Banks and Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks beat Nia Jax to get this title opportunity. However, it is possibly slightly worth noting that Sasha Banks has not had the best of success at the Barclays Center.
No.
2 years ago, she lost the NXT Women's Championship to Bayley at the first NXT Takeover Brooklyn. Then she lost that three-team elimination tag team match with Team PCB and the Team Bellas and Team Bad.
Yeah.
Last year, she walked into SummerSlam as the women's champion, but lost it to Charlotte, who had an unbelievable year then.
So it goes to show that Sasha Banks has not had the best success at SummerSlam.
Yes. Is the third time the charm?
I believe so.
Next we go back to SmackDown.
Yep.
For the WWE Championship match between the Monday Maharaja, who will be accompanied by the Sin Brothers, who will take on Shinsuke Nakamura.
The Archers don't have Shinsuke Nakamura.
This match became official, after Battleground. John Cena came out and said that he was going to take the title at SummerSlam. Daniel Bryan came out and said that opportunities are earned even if your name is John Cena. So he scheduled a match between John Cena and Shinsuke Nakamura for the following week. Now, it was a good number 1 contenders match.
It was.
With a slightly nasty ending.
Yes, we got Shinsuke in a little bit of trouble
Yes, performing one of his moves, he flipped John Cena over, only instead of John Cena being able to turn over way to land on his stomach, he landed horribly on his neck. And we know Cena has had a history of neck problems. But it was that, followed by the and the 1, 2, 3. Following the handshake, we could there was a rumour of Shinsuke saying I'm sorry and Cena saying don't worry about it.
But despite that, Shinsuke is more than ready to be world champion, and if he does win, to our sources, he'll be the first ever Japanese world champion in WWE.
Staying with SmackDown for a while. Our next match is the United States Championship match, featuring the phenomenal AJ Styles defending the championship against the so-called new face of America, Kevin Owens. However, due to some controversy surrounding previous matches, because at Battleground the referee was knocked down and AJ Styles lost the championship then, won it back for 2 days later on SmackDown in a triple threat match also involving Chris Jericho. The rematch the week after that, the referee got knocked down and Kevin Owens' shoulders were clearly up when the referee did the 3 count. So they wanted the referee which would not fall down being knocked. So the special guest referee for this match will be Shane McMahon.
The SmackDown World Commissioner.
Now this can go one of several ways.
1.
Shane McMahon will turn heel and help Kevin Owens win, or something will happen where he, I don't want to say screws, or something happens where Kevin Owens loses, and then that goes into a Shane McMahon Kevin Owens program, which is supposed to be happening after suffering a kick from AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. Shane McMahon has said point blankly that he will get involved and be physical if he has to.
Excellent.
Staying with SmackDown again, following absolutely no storyline whatsoever, after Battleground, these two had no one to feud with, so they just sort of stuck them together. Rusev was asking for an opponent for SummerSlam, and who would answer except for the Apex Predator, the Viper, be screwed out of being WWE champion by the Great Khali, Randy Orton.
I've got Rusev. And all I can say is, Rusev, you're going to get another SAO Sunday. I guarantee.
It only takes one.
It only takes one to get to 5 million.
Going back to Raw.
Yes.
It is the Battle of the Bigs, as Big Show will take on Big Cass, with Enzo Amore being suspended above the ring in a sack cage. Chris Jericho Royal Rumble.
Yes, I think Chris Jericho behind the Chris Jericho match.
Now, simply because of the way this is going, you've got to think that Big Cass is going to win this match, because it will not do Big Show anything to win this match, and these days he basically varies to make the younger people look good.
And also, Big Show's arm is injured.
Well,
but it's not the first
storyline injured, I should just say.
He's wrestled like before, and it is a championship.
And he also wrestled with it injured in a World Heavyweight Championship match against Mark Henry.
Back to the match,
Sticking with Raw for a minute as well. Following certain back and forth stuff, Finn Balor will take on Bray Wyatt. However, following the events of Monday Night Raw and being covered with some paint, whatever it was, we seem to have Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Rose, seems to have awoken the Demon King.
Yes, Wyatt, you have no idea what you just woken in Balor.
It will be the first time that the Demon has appeared since last year's SummerSlam, when he became the ignored Universal Champion. Now, going back to SmackDown for a minute and rewind a bit. Following Shinsuke Nakamura's win over John Cena after SmackDown went off the air, he was attacked by Baron Corbin.
Yes, he was. Only for John Cena to put Baron Corbin for the announcement with an AA.
Yes, Cena came down for the save. Baron Corbin would end up going through the table. The next week on SmackDown, there was a bit of a wood altercation.
Yes.
But however, the big news and what is going to fend into this match took place this past week on SmackDown. In the main event, we saw John Cena take on WWE Champion Jinder Mahal.
Yes.
And just as Cena was about to pick up the win with an AA from the middle rope, Baron Corbin comes in and hits Cena with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Walks back up the ramp, glances into the ring, sees Jinder Mahal down, looks at the briefcase, heads back to the ring. He cashes in Money in the Bank. And this could some people are possibly thinking that this would result in another fatal four-way match to happen for the WWE Championship. However, as soon as the bell rang, Baron Corbin made the mistake of turning his back to hit John Cena, who had just appeared on the apron, to be rolling up, and Jinder Mahal getting the 1-2-3, surviving as WWE Champion at least until SummerSlam.
Making Baron Corbin the second
Third person to fail to cash in.
By the Bank Council.
The first was John Cena, the second was Jinder Mahal, and this is Baron Corbin. Funny fact though, John Cena has been involved in every failed cash-in. Obviously the first was his own. Yep. The second he was cast in on by Damien Sandow. And of course he was involved in this one because of his match with Baron Corbin. Also, on a side note to this match, John Cena has not won a SummerSlam match since 2010, when it was Team WWE versus Team Nexus. He has not won a singles or triple threat match at SummerSlam since 2007.
Wow.
So he is long overdue for a win at SummerSlam. And our final match on the card features Cesaro and Sheamus defending the Raw Tag Team Champions against... Well, I'll just let them tell you for themselves. If it plays.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta,
If that was actually picked up, it will reveal that 2/3 of the group formerly known as The Shield are back together in Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins.
After 6 long years.
6 long years? You mean 3?
3.
But in any event, it's been building for a while because Cesaro and Sheamus seem to have targeted both of them. Ambrose was saying that he couldn't trust Rollins after what happened last time.
Don't blame him.
But then this week on Raw, it was a sort of half-hearted thing. They cut promos on each other. They both stuck their fists out. They brawled for a while. Then Cesaro and Sheamus decided to get involved,
Yes, use the bubble.
which resulted in both of them finally reuniting and for Kurt Angle to make this Raw Tag Team Championship match at SummerSlam. Interesting possibility that could happen is the possibility of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins winning the Raw Tag Team Championships and Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship, which could possibly result in SummerSlam going off the air to a full Shield reunion.
That would be.
So that is the lineup for NXT Takeover Brooklyn number 3, and the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam. Join us next week where we will go over the results of exactly what happened at SummerSlam and NXT Takeover.
Until then, he's been
Chris Rock Jones, and he's been
Randy Flynn. If you are going to take over and enjoy it, 8 hours of wrestling is going to be worth